Hi there, welcome back to another week of Counter-Strike game and skin market update. This is Skinomics2, and this video covers the 27th of October to the 2nd of November 2025. Starting with the Armory Pass as per usual, as we will see with the rest of the market, items within the Armory Pass have had a good week. 10 out of the 12 items you can redeem within the pass are back to profitability. As things remain, the Armory Pass has returned to being a good way to make some risk-free money if you play the game often. As a reminder, an update on the 23rd of October enabled trade-ups from covert items to gold items, which include both knives and gloves. This had wreaked havoc on the skins market. Now, the market has recovered significantly this week. At the lowest, we went from the all-time market high of $6 billion to only $3 billion. Within a single week, this has now recovered back to $5 billion and still rising. Furthermore, as indicated by the Price Empire survey, most participants in the market are now bullish for the near future. Many high-end items rose more than 40% this week, which has been great news for the new buyers for these items, but painful to the sellers immediately after the update. Let's dive a bit deeper into the potential reasons for the dramatic rebound. I think there are three main reasons. The first and perhaps the most obvious is that the expected impact simply did not occur. People expected a further drop on the 30th, given it was the first day which newly crafted knives and gloves become tradable. However, the number of people waiting to buy the dip far outweighed any new supply that was created. Then, secondly, many people would have seen the number of complaints about trade reversals all over Twitter and Reddit. Panic sellers who dumped their items right after the update, often for a fraction of market value, used a Valve feature introduced in July to reverse their trades. This system was meant to curb scams, but in this case, it unintentionally created market distortions. I believe this led to an effect very similar to a short squeeze. A short squeeze happens when investors who bet against a stock, meaning they profit when the price goes down, are suddenly forced to buy back as the price rises. This creates a chain reaction. Prices climb, short sellers rush to cover, and that extra buying pushes prices even higher. In short, it is a feedback loop of limited supply and rising demand, causing a sharp and often irrational spike in price. The same kind of pattern played out in CS2. Sellers began reversing their trades as prices started to rise, and those reversals triggered a 30-day trade lock that removed supply from the market. Meanwhile, buyers received their funds back and still wanted to purchase skins, meaning demand stayed steady while supply suddenly vanished. As scarcity kicked in, prices rose further, prompting even more sellers to reverse. Each reversal tightened supply again, amplifying the rebound. Now, there is a caveat to this. Apparently some players have been getting banned after reversing their trades as shown on screen. This will not change the rising prices, as the bans would mean even less supply. However, it may stop more reversals from appearing. The official CS2 tweeted "Do not fake support replies" against a poster of a case containing apparent evidence that reversals can cause bans if not used for the proper purpose. Whether this indicates Valve's stance, or merely just replying to a fake image remains to be seen. Moving on, the third reason we experienced a sharp rebound can be partially explained by the price differences between Western and Chinese markets. Most indexes and traders rely on buff pricing, a platform that many Western users do not have access to. Over the past 2 weeks, the selling pressure from China has gradually been met by arbitrage demand from traders taking advantage of this price gap, which in turn has helped lift the prices used in those indexes. Various traders and even a trading platform have started to act as middlemen to close this gap. However, do keep in mind that these middlemen are not officially affiliated with the Chinese platforms, so exercise caution as per usual. Now I want to talk about the concerns supporting a darker view of the market going forward. Whilst it is true that the supply did not increase by as much as expected, there are still many new knives of exceptional rarity that have been crafted. Namely, over 14,000 new Doppler knives have been registered since the update, and countless blue gems as well. In fact, a Nomad blue gem which used to go for over $60,000 was sold for only $15,000 this week. Moreover, at the time of this video, the price of knives and covert skins are still not in balance. This is expected to change over the longer term. It would mean that coverts would rise in price, or golds would drop in price. Both are plausible outcomes. With regards to trade reversal, traders and trading platforms have both been caught taking advantage of players. I do think this is not good for the confidence of the market if this issue is not resolved. And lastly, as with this update, Valve can introduce a number of things to wreak havoc on the market again. For example, a sticker scraper or somehow introducing discontinued collections again. I am not here to provide advice, and both sides of the market do make some level of sense. Exercise caution, and ensure your investments are diversified is all I can say. We move on to a controversial series of events which unfolded throughout the week. A well-known trader by the name of Metal exposed Stewie2K for owing him money and not willing to return it despite several deadlines. Metal went on to post their chat history, which had included photoshopped images and dishonest behavior from Stewie2K. Eventually, more people came forward, including the famous streamer XQC. Allegedly, Stewie has an addiction which he has been unable to resolve. At the time of writing, TDM Jesus confirms Stewie has paid back a significant amount of his debt. The whole situation is a tad sad really. Moving on again, a whole host of pros have come forward to state their signatures have been rejected by Valve for stickers in the upcoming major. It is unclear why this has happened, as most of these stickers appear to be quite simplistic and fit within Valve's 5-second hand-drawn rule. Last headline of the week. Australia's securities regulator ASIC has announced new financial markets rules which classifies in-game cosmetics such as in the case of Counter-Strike skins as non-financial assets. This ruling is probably to the relief of Valve, given it means less regulations as well. Finally, let's move on to our weekly craft idea. I have found quite a funny craft that is done on the sun patterns of the M4 Solitude. By placing a taste bud sticker alongside 2 flex stickers, you can create a Geodude looking figure. The entire craft, including the skin in field tested condition, costs about $5, which is quite affordable. Switching gears to market analysis. The Skinomics 2 index, which contains a list of items I used to represent the market, shot up by almost 30% this week, recouping most of the losses from last week. The eSport Fire index, which contains a list of 300 high-value liquid items, did not show a recovery as significant as my index had done, as it weighs more heavily into knives and gloves, which has not made a complete recovery. Moving on to buff value of trade and trade volume data sourced from the cheap instant skin trading site iTrade.gg. Market activity remains elevated compared to pre-update. However, it has decreased from the peak on the 24th where we saw significant panic selling. Steam DT's total value and volume data shows the same pattern, where we are still averaging over 3.5 million trades on a daily basis. Now, let's break the skin market movements this week down into categories. Starting off with knives and gloves, these have been the most significant source of increase this week, as they have been the center of the rebound. Higher tiered weapon skins also recovered, with the market sentiment being rather bullish. Agents share the same sentiment as well. Last but not least, the affordable weapon segment achieved gains across the board, especially pertaining to skins of covert quality. Moving on, the CS2 player base slightly increased this week. Not sure if this is due to people seeing the game in major gaming headlines. Case unboxing numbers are estimated off new items. This data is again unreliable this week given the amount of trade-ups. Non-active case prices increased dramatically alongside the items within to retain a 50 to 70% return on unboxing, and probability on any unboxing remains at about 5%. With active cases, there was a small decline in price apart from the Dreams and Nightmare that people have been opening to try to trade up to the butterfly knives within. Let's now take a glimpse at this week's biggest winners and losers. In the winners, the Candy Apple SG, which eventually trades up to the Alt Prince, increased by 254%, whilst the Chatterbox of the Chroma collection saw increases over 100%. On the inverse, thinly traded items including the Vegas Quadrant sticker and the Chainmail P2000 decreased, alongside the pink filler using the trade up to the Glock Gamma Doppler and the M4 Coalition. Onto the top trades of the week, also sourced from the skin trading site iTrade.gg. The absolute price of the top trades have definitely declined. On buff, we saw a minimal wear set of Pandoras, alongside a Paper Cato 14 Craft Wild Lotus and a Garnier, selling for between $15,000 and $18,000. On CS Float, the top 2 trades came from Cato 14 crafted redlines, both in minimal wear condition. Both of these sold for about $18,000. The third place came from the best pattern Crimson Kimono, selling for $16,000 in field tested condition. In game news, there was one update this week, and it was relatively minor. The biggest change saw both types of M4s now selectable playing as CT in the new retake game mode. This is a welcoming change. Now onto the pro scene. The Turkish team Aurora earned their first Tier 1 win with Xantares earning his first MVP out of the 40 LAN tournaments he had played in so far. Looking ahead, IEM Chengdu starts in China tomorrow, with crowns in every stage of the tournament, which will be an exciting affair. Looking even further ahead, PGL has released their event schedule for 2027 and 2028. One of the 7 events in 2027 will partner with the Chinese host Perfect World. In other pro scene news, Mesiport signed 2 new players whilst Otic parted ways with CodeZero after failing to qualify for the major. KDN is rumoured to link up with OG as they bench Nikodos and Kryzen. Lastly, Rain is supposedly signing for 100 Thieves as the organisation may look to re-enter Counter-Strike. Please do check out my Patreon. I am still open to skin donations and a reminder to join my Discord. Please like, share and subscribe. On that bombshell, that was all. See you next time.